Hey, everybody. Today we are taking you back to the neon lights, the loud jackets of the early 90s to spotlight one of wrestling's most irritating masterminds. Ladies and gentlemen, Downtown Bruno, better known as Harvey Wippleman, manager of monsters, mouthpiece of mayhem, and the only man who could draw booze just by clearing his throat. From the bully to Bertha Faye, Sid to IRS, Harvey is specialized in trash talk, bad fashion, and running for his life. Was he a genius of heat or just a loudest suit in the locker room? Brothers and sisters, strap in and thank you for letting us into our ears. Here we go with Harvey Wippleman.
Well, I can't wait to participate here in the Samp Chance show. It's me, Downtown Bruno, aka Harvey Wippleman. Real name's Bruno, so please feel free to call me Bruno through the show. It's easier because I haven't been called Harvey in so long. If you call Harvey, I might look the other way, think somebody else is here.
Absolutely,
Hey,
Bruno. So, Bruno,
I'm excited to be here.
First off, thank you so much for joining the show with us. It's an absolute honor. A legend, to say the least, and a man that we grew up with. Now, being up here in Canada, unfortunately, we were not privy to a lot of the Bruno Memphis antics that took place. Most of us were introduced to you as Harvey Wippleman when you debuted with the Bully. But before we go there, Harvey, tell us, did wrestling find you or did you find wrestling?
Well, that's a really good question. That's why I've got my beer and my chicken wings. I don't do a podcast without them.
What kind of beer are you drinking?
Well, tonight I got Bud Light.
Okay.
I went and got a. I'll get to the question in one second, but just ask me. I'm at a hotel. Like, if the listeners don't know, it's the worst snowstorm since 1968 throughout most of the United States. I'm stranded in a hotel. It's a Hilton hotel. It's got a swimming pool, a hot tub, a restaurant, an exercise room. So it's not like I'm in jail, but I want to be home. I'm less than 10 minutes from my house on a normal day, but this is not a normal day. The streets are like a hockey rink, as I can see on your jacket. You know about hockey. So
just came from the rink. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went and bought a couple cases of beer and a bunch of chicken wings, and I'm just here. So I got Bud Light because that was the best one on sale,
Right.
which I like it anyway. But anyway, did wrestling find me? Well, here's what happened. 1979 is the year I broke in the business. I was at a fair in West Virginia, and they had wrestling at the fair in a tent, and I was 14 years old. So I went in to look at the matches, and the guy at the little flap or gate, whatever you call it, the tent, said, "No, it's not part of the fair. You have to pay extra if you want to come in and watch the matches." Well, I didn't have any money. I was broke. I was a 14-year-old kid in West Virginia, which I've been in Mississippi 90% of my life, but I was born in West Virginia, and I lived there till I was 14. Anyway, I said, well, I don't have any money. I guess I have to leave. And it was Dale Mann's Mid-Continental Wrestling running the event. And the guy's name I don't remember the guy's name, but that was in charge of the ring crew for Dale Mann said, "I'll make you a deal, young man. If you'll stay and help us take the ring down and load it on the ring truck after the matches, I'll let you come in for nothing." And I said, yeah. So I'll never forget it. It was April 8th, 1979. And here it is, here in another 3 months or so. It'll be 47 years. I've been doing this for a living since that day.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, when I think of your story, I also think of guys like Bruce Pritchard, who kind of, I'm not saying had the same kind of start, but early teenage years getting involved in the business and stuff. Is that possible anymore in today's wrestling, do you find, like, to get that opportunity?
I don't think so, because back in our day, there was territories, places to work all over the country. Like Bruce and his brother Tom started in Houston for Paul Bosch.
Right.
I started in, like I said, in West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio territory for Dale Mann.
Right.
And now there's really nothing other than indies, which I never worked in indie in my life. I always worked the territory, a company. Now that I'm the quote unquote legend, I go to these different indie places as a special guest referee or what have you. But during my career on the road, I was always in a company. There's no companies anymore. So yeah, it's very difficult. It's a lot more difficult to make a living in the business nowadays. It really is. It ain't the same business. There's not as much opportunity. There's only so many slots to fill and so many jobs. Where before, hell, y'all know from up in Vancouver, you had the territory up there. Al Tonko had the territory up there. And then not too far from there was the Owens that had Portland.
Right.
And then you go a little further south, you went to San Francisco, Roy Shire. You went down to Los Angeles for LaBelle. You go over to Amarillo, or there were so many territories in Texas. There was Amarillo, there was Dallas, there was San Antonio, there was Houston. Go across, there was Louisiana territory. Then you had Kansas City, Bob Geigel, who I worked there too. Then you had Tampa, Eddie Graham. Then you had Jim Barnett, Paul Jones. Later, Ole Anderson had Georgia.
Right.
And you had Carolinas, which was the Crockett's. Memphis, which was, my home base. Terry Jarrett Promotions. You had Birmingham, which was the Fullers, the Welches. And then you had Knoxville, which was also the Fullers and Welches at the time. And then, of course, New York was the McMahons, WWF at one time. So what I'm getting at for the people that don't know, and I'm sure I'm missing one or two that I didn't. Well, Dick the Bruiser had Indianapolis, WWA. There was right there, every territory, depending on if it was a big territory or a medium-sized territory, you had at least 18 to 30 guys employed, as a wrestler, as a referee, as ring crew, as a manager, a commentator, whatever. So you see, there's a lot of places to work back then. And I'm one of and a lot of guys, if they got let go in some territory or left, they might, if they didn't really establish themselves in any kind of way, they might not have had a place to go for a while. They were looking for a place to hang their hat. I'm very lucky. In almost 47 years in the business, I've never once been without a job in the business. Never once.
Amazing.
Who were some of your favorite promoters that you worked for in the territory days?
Well, obviously, since it's my home, Memphis, which is Jerry Jarrett, Jerry King Lawler, Eddie Marlin, Christine Jarrett, which was little man, Jerry Jarrett's mother. That was home. So that was obviously great. But I loved working for Bob Geigel, too. He was very, very old school. I didn't get to do all my Memphis, as they call it, stuff, the running around and the funny, entertaining stuff. He wanted to be more serious. But that's fine. I learned a whole lot working with Bob Geigel and for him. He was a great guy. I miss him dearly. He's no longer with us. I loved working for the Fullers, particularly the Alabama territory, for Robert Fuller. I never, there was just sometimes that you work somewhere and you're not just crazy about how it was going, but I've never really had a promoter that I hated. Some guys do. I've had wrestlers that I didn't particularly care for, but mainly Memphis, Alabama, and like I said, Kansas City, Bob Geigel. I really, really learned a lot from Bob Geigel. He taught me, certain things you learn in the business you take for granted. Some things you learn that you never forget. He taught me, I'm going to tell you something Bob Geigel taught me that I'll never forget.
Please.
Let's hear it.
Okay. As a manager, I'm, most of the time the spokesman. There's a lot of times I have me with a wrestler that's, like a giant or a, crazy person, whatever. They don't speak. I do all the talking, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you only get a limited amount of time to make a promo. And a lot of people have a very bad problem on this. And I probably did too until Bob Geigel smartened me up. If I'm doing an interview right now, okay, Chance, let me tell you something. Blah, 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 blah. I'm going to get you when I get, and let me tell you something else. Blah, 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 blah. And let me tell you something. Bob Geigel said, Bruno, he goes, you only got a certain amount of time to make your promo. Don't say, let me tell you something. Just tell me something. I never forgot that. Because you can watch some guys, every third word out of their mouth. Let me tell you something. I'll do this and I'll do that. Let me tell you something. I'll do this and I'll do that. Let me tell you something when I get to that town. But I learned that. Now, I ain't gonna say I didn't slip up occasionally. I'm not perfect, but
Yeah.
that was a big lesson. Don't say, "Let me tell you something."
Well, let me tell you something, Bruno. No, just I had to throw that in there. A quick question here. When you created the character Downtown Bruno, what part of your real personality were you exaggerating, if at all?
Well, unless we're given a gimmick by a promoter or a booker or whatever, we're all just playing a enhanced version of ourselves.
Right.
You know, I mean, I would never. Now, back then, there was a lot of cheap heat too. Okay, don't forget.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do that anymore. And it's, you know, if a guy's in the front row and he's fat, hey, you fat pig, or if his wife has, you know, messed up teeth, look at you, you ugly pig. You know, they want to have. Yeah, anybody can get heat like that. And that's.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I would separate Bruno Lauer from Downtown Bruno. Downtown Bruno, it's almost like I get an opportunity to be a sorry son of a gun, you know. But in real life, I would never do that. And how I came up with it, well, of course, Bruno's my real name. But how I came up with the gimmick, I'll never forget it. If I ever meet this actor, I'm going to tell him that I stole Downtown from him. A guy named Tim Reed,
Oh,
who
okay.
played Venus Flytrap on WKRP in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
African-American gentleman, great actor. From all reports, very nice guy.
Mhm.
He ended up going on a TV show called Simon and Simon.
Hmm.
He played like a streetwise guy, and his name was Downtown Brown. And I heard that one day. I said, "Oh my God, Downtown Brown! I'm gonna be Downtown Bruno," and
Nice.
that's where it came from.
That's
Nice.
amazing. That's
So
amazing.
I got to ask you this question. I've always wanted to ask you. How did you become the first ever man to win the women's title? Whose idea was that? And how did that come about?
Well, I don't know exactly whose idea it was, but I'll tell you exactly how it came about.
Please do.
Yeah, it's very simple. Jacqueline, who's a tremendous athlete, tremendous performer in the ring, no ifs, ands, buts, or maybes. I worked with her umpteen dozen times in Memphis. We worked, and she's snug. There's a difference between stiff and snug. The people don't know it. Snug is you can feel it, but you don't get hurt. Stiff is when you maybe hit somebody too hard. It always happens. Everybody can do it once or twice, but some people are stiff. They'll hit you all the time. Something like that piece of crap Vader or somebody like that.
Yeah.
Would hurt you. Okay. Now, they had the thing where they put the WWE Women's Championship on the cat, Stacey Carter. Excuse me. And it was strictly for a gimmick. She wasn't a wrestler per se. She was a really, I'm sure still is, very attractive young lady. And they had her with the championship. I don't remember how she won it. I'm sure it was some fluke or some heel thing or whatever. Well, they know she couldn't be a sustainable champion because she couldn't really, you know, perform in the ring to that level. So they wanted to put it on Jacqueline. They know Jacqueline unintentionally. I'm not saying anything against her, believe me, but unintentionally, just being the stout girl she is, and the cat was real slim and very attractive, but very wasn't like muscular or whatever.
Yeah.
Without intending to, Jacqueline would have hurt her in the ring. And it was the cat just wasn't up to that type of physicality. So I became the substitute victim. They did that little goofy thing where I beat the cat. Even though it aired 4 days later, it was literally the very next day. Jacqueline beat Hervina, which was me. And that, long story short, I can't make it more, conspiratorial or whatever, but that's pretty much how it was and why it was.
That's absolutely amazing. So, Bruno, you were at a time where managers played a very big role in the wrestling television program. How much of that role extended to the back? Like, for example, because of the prominence of all the managers, were managers blamed at times or were ever considered a reason that a talent wasn't getting over?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
Absolutely not. Like, for example, bless his soul, he's no longer with us. Bully Busnick, who's the first one they put me with in WWE, nicest guy in the world, super guy, just didn't have it. And not speaking ill of the dead. We're talking about, I'm not talking about Nicholas Busick. I'm talking about the bully.
Yeah.
Again, yeah,
Mhm.
the alter ego, yeah, the talent. As
Sure.
a person, he was a super guy. And I wish he was still alive, and it breaks my heart that he's not. But let's just face it, I'd be sitting here lying saying, oh, he was great. I don't understand. He just didn't have it. And of course, I didn't get the blame for that. I couldn't help it that his work wasn't up to standards.
Right. And you debuted with the bully. And I remember that specifically because that was the first time I ever saw you. And that was Saturday afternoon on WWF Superstars. So not knowing when it was recorded, but they would have all the matches from the week or wherever they were on. And I remember the bully I only saw him maybe a month. We only saw him 3 or 4 times. And after that, completely scrapped. Was it because they didn't give him enough chance to get over, or what was the reason?
No, it wasn't that he gave him a chance. It was
Okay.
they gave him plenty of chances.
Okay.
When you get out there with people like Bret Hart and Coco Beware, and I'm sure some like Jim Powers and Brooklyn Brawler is one of my dearest friends. If you work with these guys and can't have a good match, you've got your chance. And when everybody comes back in the dressing room and Vince or whoever says, what happened? And to the man, they said, he don't have it, Vince. He don't have it. He just didn't have it, you know, and it's a shame. Nice. Like, again, I'm not degrading him. It's just, you know, he wasn't good.
Bruno, I want to ask you this: who's your Mount Rushmore of wrestling managers?
You know, it's funny. I'm glad you said managers because people ask about the Rushmore.
No, I want to know. Yeah.
Okay, Jimmy Hart, Paul Heyman, Jim Cornette. I ain't gonna say me.
Yeah.
I'm not. I wouldn't do that. I don't have that type of ego. But Jimmy Hart, Jim Cornette, Paul Heyman. Let me think. Who would be Bobby Heenan.
Okay.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
And if anybody ever puts me in it, I'll be honored. But, you know, theoretically, it's not really going to happen. But I'm saying I wouldn't have the ego to put myself in it. There was a lot of good managers. Bill Moody, who was Paul Bear, a.k.a. Percy
Yeah.
Putnam. Good manager, very good. Understood the business, good guy. You know, Albano, Blassie, Grand Wizard, they were all good too. There was a lot of crappy ones too, and I hate to see a crappy manager because I tried to be as good as I could.
What about Slick?
Slick's okay. I have no bad things to say about Slick. Yeah, I just seen him at a convention not too long ago. I like Slick.
Between 85 and 95, do you think there were too many managers on the scene? It was overflooded?
In a way, because some people became managers that had no business being managers. Frenchie Martin, Paul Jones. Oh, gosh. Who was the other one that was terrible? Oh, my God.
Oliver Humperdinck?
John Tolos. John Tolos was terrible manager. He was evidently, that's before my time, but big money draw in California, good worker, whatever. But as a manager, just terrible.
Fair enough. Did you ever make Yokozuna break?
I'm sorry, say it again.
Were you able to make Yokozuna break character ever?
I don't think so. I never managed him or anything.
No, not even in the back or anything?
Oh, no, in the back. I knew him when he was the Great Coquino. We were in the Louisiana territory together back in the late 80s. But no, he was different in the back. But no, I never worked with him at the ring.
Okay.
So I could never do it there. But no, in the back, we got along great. I always liked Rodney.
Fair enough. How did the relationship with Giant Gonzalez come about? And what kind of role did you play with him in and out of the ring?
That was the closest I ever came to being a real manager, to be honest with you. Because I had to drive him to every town. I made all the hotel reservations, the rental-car reservations. Had to be a Cadillac because the seats went back further in a Cadillac where he could sit in it. I would go get him whatever food he needed. I would fill his prescriptions because he was severely diabetic and asthmatic. Poor guy. So we had a great relationship. We were very good friends. He's been to my home. We always got along. I mean, now here's a guy that unfortunately, and if you don't believe me, watch any interview Undertaker says about it, just was not talented in the ring. He was what the saying is, he was all hat and no horse, you know.
What was he like to travel with? You got any good road stories traveling up and down the road with Giant Gonzalez?
Well, I mean, nothing like that would jump out at you. Just, you know, obviously we'd go to a restaurant or something. Everybody would stop and stare, even if they weren't wrestling fans. They knew it was an 8-foot tall guy. That was legit, 8 foot tall, you know. No, nothing that would jump out at you. It's like, oh my God, you never believe the day this happened. Nothing like that. But just in general, just, you know, walking around with a guy like that, it's like walking into a restaurant carrying sparklers. You know, everybody's gonna stop and look at you, you know. But no, he was a great, great guy, super guy. And unfortunately, towards the end of his life, Argentina's economy collapsed. He was completely penniless, and I used to send him money, and I couldn't send it Western Union or any kind of other thing like that because it would have been confiscated. Yeah. I would mail him Sports Illustrated magazine and WWE magazine and whatever magazine. I'd put, you know, dollar bills, not dollar bills, you know what I'm saying, money, like $100 bills, $20 bills, whatever, in the pages so he could get money, because if they knew money was there, they would have stole it. You know, that it wasn't like,
for sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I looked out for him the best I could. And he couldn't buy, he had bad indigestion. I would send him Rolaids and Maalox and so forth. I mean, we were close friends up until the end. And
what year did he pass away?
I'm sorry?
What year did he pass away?
Gosh, I'm not good like that. I can't even tell you
what happened. It was like, what, 20 years ago or something, 25 years ago?
Let's see.
So I'm not sure.
I was with him in 94, 95. That's 30 years ago. So probably 20 or 25 years ago. Yeah. I'm the world's worst. When it come to dates and whatever, I can't tell you, you know.
Fair enough. I got to ask you one question here. How did the name Harvey Wippleman come about? Did you come up with that, or did Vince?
Say it again. Y'all both talk at the same time.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Sorry, all I was going to say that Giant Gonzalez passed away September 2010.
So it's been 25, 26 years almost.
Yeah. 16 years, 2010.
Yeah, he died in 2010.
Oh my God! Yeah, 16. What the hell am I thinking?
You've had a few Bud Lights, but what I was saying was, how did the name Harvey Wippleman come about? Did you create that, or did WWE put that?
No,
on you?
I would have loved to just continue to be Downtown Bruno. And even Hulk Hogan told me that.
Yeah,
but no, they created that. They were trying to come up with a name for me on my tryout day in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Mm-hmm.
So they called me Henry Herman on my dark tryout. And because I was dressed like Pee Wee Herman, that's during his scandalous period or whatever. Then we got in the back, and Vince said, "No, it's too much pandering to the Pee Wee Herman thing. Once that scandal fades and whatnot, it's played out. So come up with something else." So Gino Monsoon came up with, let's call him Harvey Wippleman. So all of a sudden, which I'm the most anti-Semitic person in the world. I have nothing against Jewish people. I love all people. Don't take this wrong. But all of a sudden, I went from a guy from Mississippi to a Jew. So that's where it came from. They just made it up. Well, matter of fact, he came up with Harvey Whipple. When I went to the ring, Oakland, for some reason, called me Harvey Wippleman, and it stuck. So by the time I walked from the back to the front, I became Jewish. So, I say, shalom.
So, Bruno, speaking of Vince, if it's okay, what was the relationship like, and what can you tell us about Vince that people get wrong?
That Vince is a tyrant, because he's not. Vince he's treated me like gold. I never, ever, ever was given one negative thing from Vince. He was very good to me. And I know he's not with the company anymore, but I know he's instrumental in the fact that I'm still under contract with the organization. I call it a pension, Legends deal, whatever, and everybody's is different.
Mm-hmm.
Vince treated me like gold. I was always there for him, and he was always there for me. And he's never been nothing but wonderful to me. That's him, his wife, Linda, and his son-in-law, Triple H, his daughter, Stephanie, and his son Shane. None of them have ever once been anything but wonderful to me. So when people bring up things about Vince did this and Vince did that, whether it's the business side or some of this lawsuit crap, I know nothing about none of it. I can tell you from personal experience, he's been a gem to me. And that's God's honest truth.
That's good to hear. I'm glad you shared that.
That's absolutely amazing. Now, when you look at today's current wrestling, what does Downtown Bruno think?
Well, here's the thing. It's a mixed bag. It ain't the same business I broke into. If I was trying to break in now, forget it. I can't memorize a long script and say on a promo, it sounds canned. It sounds, whatever. As far as the in-ring product, I'll jump over you, then you'll jump over me, then we'll both jump together. Then we'll jump over the top rope, and there'll be two guys waiting to catch us, and then we'll roll back in the ring, we'll flip around. In my day, it's like, what are we going to do in the match? I don't know. Call it in the ring. What's the finish? I don't know. Take it with a sunset flip. Boom. And people are ready to crawl over the barricades. It's evolved. Maybe I'm just too old timer, been in the business too long, whatever. I'm not going to say anything against what they're doing because evidently it's making a lot of money for a lot of people, but it's not the business I broke into. I'm just happy to be considered I always do the air quotes, legend. And I get to go to these conventions and people tell me, oh, business was so much better when you and your people were there and blah, 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 which is great. It's not the same business I broke into.
Now, that all being said and everything, is there anyone from today's wrestling that could stand with the boys of yesterday?
Oh, my God. Look at Randy Orton. To me, he might be one of the top 5 greatest of all time.
Okay.
And I'm not saying current time. I'm saying from all time. If you could somehow magically get all the greats at one era, you know what I'm saying? Like if Dusty Rhodes was still in his prime and Randy Orton was, that age, Jerry King Lawler and the Magnificent Morocco and
right,
whatever. Honest to God, Randy Orton is yes, he's tremendous. Roman Reigns, he's another one. There's a lot of guys that are, and if you notice, the ones that are on top, the ones that are drawing the money, the ones that are making the money for the company, ain't the ones that are jumping up and I'll do this and I'll do that and blah, blah, blah. It's the guy like Cody Rhodes, for example. They're not high spot guys. They're the ones that drew all the money, not just currently, but through the years, if you think about it, were none of them that were the flip-flop high spot guys. Mm-hmm. Who drew more money in the history of the business than anyone? There's no question, no argument, no discussion, no debate. Hulk Hogan.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. Speaking of Hulk Hogan, what was it like being around Hulkamania? Because you came in WWE when Hulkamania was dying off a little bit, but it was still going pretty strong. What was it like?
Brother, I would have to respectfully disagree with you at that point about it dying off. Because I'll tell you, when I was in the ring with whoever the opponent was, mm-hmm. we were already in the ring waiting for Hulk. Buddy, when that music hit, I never used drugs in my life. I never will. Mm-hmm. But it was a high that you can't explain. The atmosphere of that arena, in that ring, is indescribable. It was the air, the oxygen was sucked out of you. That when Hulk Hogan's music hit and he came down waving his arm, like he did. Yeah. Believe me, I don't think Hulkamania started dying until he left the WWE, and then he started changing himself and became the NWO Hulk, and he did this and that. I think up until he left WWE, or F at the time, I don't think he was dying because it was, put it like this, what is dying? He was selling out everywhere he went. Mm. He could sell out Madison Square Garden working with me. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I was going by what Vince McMahon said. He said it was getting stale in the early to mid-'90s, and that's why he kind of wanted him out of there a little bit. But I don't know. I wasn't around, so I wanted to ask you. I wasn't there, so.
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to bullshit you. Say I was privy to those discussions.
Yeah.
But no, Hogan was like Elvis Presley and the Beatles put together. Now, I'll say this. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, The Undertaker. These guys were all upper echelon as well. I'm not going to say Ultimate Warrior because once he got through running to the ring and shaking the ropes and making promos that sounded like he was on acid and ice and whatever, crack at the same time. Which I'm not saying he was on drugs, but I'm saying that the promos he was doing sounded like it. And then once the bell rang, it was over. He was terrible. I would never put him in a category with those guys or Macho Man or anybody, because but all the ones I just mentioned. And of course, my three best friends in the business are Brooklyn Brawler, Jerry the King Lawler, and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. So I'd be remiss to not mention that.
Yeah.
Full disclosure, but come on. If I didn't say that Dwayne was one of the top draws in the history of the business, I'd be lying, because we know he was too.
How did Ultimate Warrior treat you? Was he a nice guy backstage, or is he as rude and bad as everybody says he is?
Who's that?
Ultimate Warrior, how did he treat you backstage? Is he good
I
to
think
you?
it's Dwayne. I was going to say Dwayne. What?
No.
No. I'm trying to put it in a proper manner. I mean, he was never like, F you, get the F away from me, you piece of shit. He wasn't like that. But he had to have his own dressing room. He would come out to do his interview, whatever, when he got ready. And if he didn't like some little thing, he'd have to have a 2-hour meeting with Vince in a private room or what. He was very high maintenance, let's put it that way.
Gotcha.
Very high maintenance.
The three names that you mentioned, Bruno, Randy Orton, Roman Reigns, and who was the last one you mentioned there? But you mentioned three names that you said that could roll with the boys of yesterday. Ironically enough, all of these guys are wrestling families. They grew up in the business. Do you think that plays a big role in why they're able to do it, opposed to the modern wrestler today who's not up there at that level?
Well, it's funny you said, yeah, I mean, sure. When guys came from a wrestling background, because they grew up in the business, they grew up learning the business, understanding the business. Yeah, that I'm sure. But here's the thing. There's a lot of guys that grew up in the business that sucked. If you remember Angelo Mosca Jr., of course, I thought Angelo Mosca Sr. was a piece of crap too, as a person and as a talent.
Sure.
I feel the same way. His son was horrible. Okay. So it's not always Nepo baby thing, because if you ain't good, you ain't going to make it.
No, understandable. Look at Jimmy Snuka's son, Simp Snuka.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. The apple don't always fall next to the tree either. So
I guess what I'm trying to get at here, Bruno, is you've had 47 years in the business. You've seen it all. You've worked with some of the best minds in the business. You've worked with people, who were willing to do the things that needed to be done to get the program over. Yet I feel that we live in a time now with this new generation, with the evolution of humanity, the world that we live in. A lot of these newer guys aren't willing to take that extra step that you guys did. Do you find that to be true, or am I wrong?
Well, here's the thing. I like to give a little thought to my answers. I don't want to just blurt something out.
No, please.
I think everything's an individual thing. You know what I mean? Like, okay, it's obviously a very good podcast. Y'all have very good questions. Y'all are both very friendly and obviously intelligent individuals, and I mean that. Okay? So the next podcast guy might say something goofy or whatever. So then the third podcast guy might say, what about these podcasters now that are asking stupid questions? You find that podcasters are stupid? Well, no. Y'all are wonderful. Professor Bear is wonderful. Yeah. I've done many good ones. Very few crappy ones. But there are some that ask stupid questions and try to do the gotcha thing. And well, I heard so-and-so was gay. I heard so-and-so was on drugs. Whatever. So my whole point to this is I can't make a generalized statement about the new guys. I can only say this. In my day, I didn't have a plan B. It was this. The minute I committed to the wrestling business, April 8th, 1979, that was it. I didn't have any education. I didn't have no graduation. I didn't have no nothing. It was the wrestling business, or I'd be dead or in prison right now, in all honesty. So maybe some of these other guys, maybe they came from money. Maybe their parents support them. Maybe they have degrees of something they can fall back on. I didn't have none of that. So
I guess the kind of point I'm trying to get here is like, for example, there was a story that William Regal and Daniel O'Brien were willing to work with younger talent, to teach them, to help them, to guide them, to support them. With the evolution of society the way it is right now, so many people don't want to take the help of anybody because they think they already have all the answers. Do you find that with the current roster of girls and guys out there that aren't willing to learn, do you find that to be a problem?
Well, no, oh yeah. Whenever they have that attitude, that's a problem. But here's the thing. Okay, I go to a organization around the Memphis area where I'm from called Pro Wrestling Mid South.
Sure.
The greatest group of guys in the world. When I give them advice and input, they listen, they ask. Okay, what? And our friend Amy Berryman, who's the one that set me up with y'all.
Yes, sir.
She goes to another organization that I go to in Arkansas, and there's a great bunch of guys there too. My thing is when I'm with a bunch of young guys, and they always say, "Oh, watch our match. Tell us what you think. Tell us blah blah blah." I'm happy to do it. That's good attitude. I always tell all the guys the same thing. There's only two words I don't want to hear when I say something to you about what you should have did or what you shouldn't have did or what you should have done differently. You know what those two words are? Not just for me, every old timer like me. Two words I don't ever want to hear when I tell you advice. Yeah, but. Okay? What I want to know when I say, okay, here's why, here's what you shouldn't have done this. Now I'm happy to hear it. Yeah, why? Now you want to learn. Not, yeah, but here's how I do. Yeah, but no. Yeah, why? Well, here's why. Because if you do this, then this doesn't do right or whatever. I can't even think of a prime example, but never forget I was in Ripley, Tennessee one day, and there was a really good guy named Poker Face that was in charge running the show. He was sitting back in the monitor area, and this is early, like 2 hours before the public was allowed in, and the guys were in there practicing some moves or whatever. One guy was hitting the ropes straight back and then running, hitting, doing things straight back. You hit the rope sideways with your hip and under here, because if the rope breaks or you slide because there's baby oil on it or something, you can hook that and you can protect yourself. If you go straight back and something happens, you fall, you're going to break your neck. You're going to be in a wheelchair the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I was in there watching those guys practice, and I told the guy, that ain't how you hit the ropes, blah, blah. He goes, yeah, but that's how I was trained. Before I could get another word out of my mouth, Poker Face came running out of the back. And he said, let me tell you something, MRF. He goes, and he pointed at me. He goes, if this guy tells you something, you just nod and smile. I never forgot that. That was respect. Mm-hmm. And I asked the guy, who trains you? And I'm not going to dirty anybody's name here, but some guy never made his living in our business. Yeah, said, now, how the hell is he going to train you to do something he don't do for a living?
Fair enough. Bruno, we've taken up a lot of your time here. We're just going to ask you a few more questions, and we'll let you get on your way. One question that I want to ask, and I haven't seen anyone ask this before. Maybe I haven't. Maybe they have. I just haven't seen it. When that show, Young Rock, came out, how true to life is it opposed to how much was done for television?
It's funny you said that. That's been asked to me on practically every podcast I've ever done. But let me say this. I was an executive consultant on the show.
Sure.
Dumbo Guerrero was the executive consultant for all
the wrestling
part. I was the executive consultant for all things related to Memphis wrestling.
Mm.
Okay. And I will say this. Yes, of course, a lot of it was amplified to make it, because it was like a mockumentary almost. They were
absolutely.
But it was everything was accurate, but I guess the right word would be amplified or turned into dramatized. I don't know the words, but you know what I mean, to make it funny. Like I never cooked eggs on the toilet. And everybody asked me that. And I said, no, I never did that. I'm one of the cleanest people you ever meet. But they thought that was funny. And the thing is, I did buy Dewey his first car. But for some reason on Young Rock, I guess because of the way they were doing the timing, it ended up being a guy in Philadelphia or wherever he was supposed to be at the time, which wasn't the case. But they thought that was more into the timing of the program, and that was fine. But yeah, was it accurate? Yeah, but was it? Here's the word I was looking for: embellished. It was embellished.
Embellished. It kind of blown up out of proportion. So Rock and Andre's relationship, that was just for TV then, right?
Well, as far as I know, but I will say this, in all honesty, when they were, if they ever were together like that, I wasn't around for that, so I couldn't tell you, if that happened or not.
Bruno, who, if you could go back in time and you could manage one male or female wrestler, who would it be that you never got to manage?
The Magnificent Morocco.
Ooh,
nice, good one.
No ifs, ands, or buts. You notice no hesitation, right?
Yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Why Don?
Well, I mean, to me, besides Jerry King Lawler, who I think was the best of all time, I think Morocco, he could talk, he could work, he looked the part, he protected the business. Everything he did was real. It was real. Yeah. I mean, if he'd have got to come to Memphis and I could have managed him in a big angle against Jerry King Lawler, I think we could have did record business. I think the matches they would have had would have been unbelievable. He would put it like this here. If you never knew wrestling was predetermined, if you had no idea, and I showed you a match of Don Morocco against Pedro Morales, when you got through watching that match, you still wouldn't know it was predetermined. Mm-hmm. Whereas if I showed you Santino Morella taking the sock and threw it on his hand, and, all that, you'd say, "Oh, look at this funny crap. This is what a bunch of crap." Yeah. And I'm not knocking Santino; he's a friend of mine. Yeah. But I'm just saying, if you watch, I urge you, both of y'all, and any of the people that are listening and watching this, look up Magnificent Morocco versus Pedro Morales. They were some of the greatest matches I ever seen in my life.
Absolutely. Bruno, was there anyone in your time that you felt didn't get the push that they should have gotten?
Yes. And I've always said this, and God bless, one of them is no longer with us, the Batten twins, Brad and Bart Batten. Brad sadly left us. Again, I'm the worst. I don't know, it was 10 years ago, 15, whatever. But I was their manager in Kansas City. Oh, nice. Great workers. They were small guys, but good body and tremendous workers. I had never met them before in my life. When I got to Kansas City, and they were the top babyface team there, they went, this what an honor and respect this was. They went to Bob Godwin and said, "Look, we know about Downtown Bruno. He's great. Yep. Let us switch heel and be with him." So we ended up working a deal where they switched, were on my side, and we had a big angle with Rick McCord and Mike George were tagged babyface team against them. And for me to walk into a brand new territory, two guys I never met before, just by reputation only, chose me to manage it. And we got along great. We traveled together. We laughed. We cut up. And with our work, we had a bond instantly. We just worked very, very well together. What it is, back in I think it was 86 or 87 when I was with them. That's back when all the tag teams were, what do you call them? The Powers of Pain, and the Legion of Doom, and Akeem and Big Boss Man or whatever. Yeah. Little guys like the Battens, there just wasn't a position for them. Right after that's when it started rolling with the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, and the different ones. They were just a little bit ahead of their times. I promise you, they would have been like, if once again, that magic time machine. If they were still in their mid-20s, early 30s today, they might be the hottest tag team in NXT or Raw or SmackDown. Yeah.
Bruno, I got one more question here for you before we wrap it up. We just had Vince Russo on the podcast last week. What did you think of the Attitude Era?
Oh, it was great. We drew a lot of money. Everybody did well. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, one of my closest friends in the world, got to cut his teeth. Stone Cold got over. And the DX drew a lot of money. And the Attitude Era is what took the 83 weeks away from WCW, Yeah. And Vince Russo's a guy that I've always liked, got along very well with. A lot of people say things about him. I had never had a problem with him.
We had him on the show. He was great to us. He was so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, and another guy that people talk bad about, which I wish they wouldn't, because I love him too, is Cornette. I know he hates Russo. Yeah. I hope Jim and me are always going to be friends, and I hope me and Russo will always be friends. I don't pick my friends because the other friend don't like this one or whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
No, absolutely. Is there anyone, if Downtown Bruno, aka Harvey Wippleman, were to come back, is there anyone that you would want to work with, and who do you think you would make the most money with?
Oh my God, that's a really good question.
I almost have a picture in my mind. Can I tell you who I think would be amazing with you?
Sure.
Drew.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, yeah, he's a hell of a great guy. Not just a person. I like the hell out of him, but also as a talent. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. It's funny. I never gave that one any thought. And the reason why is a couple times, even before I was off the road on this Legends deal, I was offered to manage a couple different guys. And I said, please, no, I don't want to. Because there's a shelf life on being a talent. There's not a shelf life on being behind the scenes as long as you're doing the job properly. Yeah. So I never want to put that expiration date back on my career. That's why I don't want to manage no more.
Fair enough. So, Bruno, what we like to do here at Samp Chance is play a little game called the name game. Yes, it's a really simple name, but Chance will shout out some names to you and just let us know what you think.
Okay, I'm going to ask you right now. I'm not a vulgar person, but if I have to say a cuss word, if it's somebody I despise,
you can cuss.
Is that okay?
I'll simply say this: fuck yeah.
What? I'm only kidding. I'm a virgin ears. No.
There you go.
All righty, here we go. Kamala.
Liar.
King Kong Bundy.
Fantastic. Now, is this one word answers or can I elaborate?
You can say a few thoughts, whatever comes to your mind.
All right, let's go back then. Kamala.
Yeah.
He traveled with me in Lombardi on his last run in WWE. He had never paid his taxes, so he couldn't have a bank account. And there's a whole lot of more I don't want to get into, but a lot of he shouldn't have did. I would meet him every week. He lived in Tate County, Mississippi. I live and still do DeSoto County, Mississippi. We would meet up in East Memphis, where my bank was at the time, on Summer Avenue, and I would have to cash his check for him. He couldn't have a bank account, so we had to work a deal with the bank that he signed a thing that I was okay to cash his check. He would sign it over to me. I would go in and get the cash and bring it out to him. When I was cashing my check for 4 figures, sometimes high 3 figures, I was giving him his 5-figure checks, giving him all the cash. Thank you, Bruno. He'd give me, $50 or whatever. Yeah. Okay. And then when he was let go from the company for no show in Royal Rumble because me and Lombardi couldn't pick him up, he went home. He was always bad that way. Then he went on podcast and some idiot guy wrote a book and he was in, and this is how he talked to us. Well, Vince wouldn't pay me because I didn't have no money because Vince said, I ain't paying you because you're black. Now, give me a effing break. You really think Vince would say, I'm not paying you because you're black? That's the most stupidest thing I ever heard. Then he said, me and Lombardi were making all the money, and he didn't even have enough money to get a hotel room. We wouldn't let him stay in our room. So he slept in the car while me and Lombardi were in the room. The lies he told. It's absurd. So,
oh my goodness.
Yes.
That's why
I'm going to come out. King Kong Bundy.
Yeah.
What a funny guy. What a great guy. And you know what burns me up when people say that Vader was the best big man ever. No, bullshit. They never seen Bundy or Bam Bam Bigelow or Jerry Blackwell. Bundy was great, and he was a funny, entertaining son of a bitch. His wife had a beauty parlor in New Jersey. And one day we were doing TV up there in Jersey somewhere. I can't remember what town it was. And Bundy was a little bit late. And somebody said, Chris, why are you late? He goes, I was at the beauty parlor. And I looked at him. I said, was you getting an estimate?
Love it.
He said, F you, Bruno, drop that. We got along so good. I loved Bundy.
Mr. Perfect.
Let me tell you, one of the most athletic guys that ever walked the face of the earth. But if we're going to sit here and sit under the honesty tree, he was working to impress the boys, not the audience. He overdid it. Somebody would punch him, he'd stutter step back 5 steps and catapult himself backwards over the top rope. Or he would grab the top rope and somebody would punch him and he'd flip all the way over.
Oh
I
my.
mean, he overdid it. He overdid it. And he was trying to entertain the boys, not the audience. And I think he was so, I don't know what it was in his mind that he was always constantly trying to make everybody laugh all the time in the back, in the ring, always. And I think he went far in the business, don't misread me. But I don't think that's why he never had a run with Hogan. Because nobody would, he was too ha-ha all the time. Athletic, yes. Tremendous worker, yes. He'd be in the ring with a guy like Bret Hart, he wouldn't do that silly shit.
Yeah.
But for the most part, he was his own worst enemy, unfortunately. And that's what ended his life, I think, from what I understand.
Very interesting.
The last one for you, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat.
Oh, very nice guy. Super talented guy. I mean, can't nobody say anything bad about him. I mean, I've never heard a bad word about him. And his work was really good. I mean, way up there, and no, hell of a guy. And if you got any more you want to throw at me, please do. I haven't.
I do. I actually have one more.
Enough.
I have one more here, Sid.
Oh, Sid.
That you worked with a
come
lot.
on. Let's face it, Sid. If you had like a computer to make a version of the ultimate appearance of a professional wrestler, Sid would be the one.
Yeah.
Or if you go to Central Castle, we need a wrestler. Look at him. Beautiful, huge body. Looked like he could tear your head off, and he could have. Had that mean look and that sinister way of speaking, and just believable in every way, which he was. I mean, no, I can't say nothing but positive things about him. He's the ultimate pro wrestler. Was he in there taking bombs like Shawn Michaels or doing technical moves like, Ricky Steamboat, who you just mentioned? No, but he didn't have to. That wasn't his thing. And he was absolutely the epitome of what a pro wrestler should look like and behave like.
Yeah,
absolutely amazing. Bruno, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a blessing. It's been an honor and a privilege of ours to actually sit down with yourself, with all the things that you've done. We'd love to bring you back on because there's so much more that we want to talk about.
Yeah.
We want to save it for another day. Please be safe, Bruno. I know you're only 10 minutes away from home and you'll get home sooner than not. But in the meantime and in between time, like Ed Whalen said, thank you so much. And thank you for the opportunity. I'm Bobby Sampson. He's Mr. Chance Michaels. And do not adjust your screens right below us, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Downtown Bruno. Samp, Chance, and Bruno are out.